3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Hello and welcome back to the Sports Shift with me, Ian Marquez. Today we're going to be focusing on the standings of all the teams in the AFC, as well as looking at their schedules to try and see who's going to finish on top in their division and how the division is going to stack out by the end of the season. Let's get started. So, starting out in the AFC North. Well, we have a look at the standings here. After that very massive game between the Steelers and the Ravens, where the Ravens came out on top, the Steelers now hold sole control of the AFC North. They have that head-to-head win over the Ravens. They also have another win on them, and they have another game to play where the Ravens take their bye. They're on a 5-game win streak since they put Russ Wilson in at quarterback. Everyone questioned Mike Tomlin, but he seems to know what's best for his team. Maybe let him just do his thing and sit back. The Ravens, after a big win over the Bengals, a tough loss to the Steelers, but they're only one win back, and there is still hope. If you look at the Steelers schedule, which we'll do in a little bit, you can understand that they are definitely not out of it. Bengals, those 7 losses have to be some of the toughest losses. If you look at the amount of points that they racked up in each loss, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are killing it on the offensive side of the ball. They just need a little bit of help from the defense. A very tough season for the Bengals. Maybe they can squeeze through on a wild card, but it's very rare and very difficult for 3 teams from the same division to get through to the playoffs due to the divisional games that you have matched up. They definitely do need to win the rest of their divisional games at a minimum, but there's still a chance. AFC isn't as strong as it's always been in the past. I know we have the Chiefs and the Bills, but after that, the wild cards are going to be probably between the Steelers and the Ravens for one wild card spot, and then maybe the Dolphins for another wild card spot. So it is possible. They just have to start racking up some wins, man. Meanwhile, the Browns suffering another defeat to the Saints. 2-8 record now. Is it time to throw it in? I mean, they're still going to play, they're still going to fight. Jameis at quarterback since Deshaun Watson went down. He can play some entertaining American football. You know, he likes to be explosive, whether it's throwing touchdowns or throwing picks, he's gonna put it up there. So it's always fun to watch. Alrighty, so let's look ahead to the Steelers' schedule. They currently have 8 wins and 2 losses. Next up, they have Browns, which I think they should be able to handle the Browns twice. The Bengals, I think the Bengals beat them both times. You know, I think that matchup just shoots the Bengals more. I know Bengals have trouble on the O-line, so Joe Burrow might get pressured a little bit, but just the way that division goes, I find the Bengals usually get the better of the Steelers, the Ravens get the better of the Bengals, and the Steelers get the better of the Ravens. It's just how it typically goes in that division. So they have to play the Browns twice, the Bengals twice, the Eagles, the Chiefs, and the Ravens. That is an incredibly difficult schedule. Honestly, if we're being generous, I'd say 3 wins, maybe 4 max, and 2 more losses. That Ravens game is going to be extremely important, because if you look at their standings, if they lose 2 more games, maybe 3, then they'll be on a 10-5 record. So if they lose 3 more games, they'll be on a 10-5 record. If they only have 1 win against the Ravens, it will come down to divisional games. Ravens already have a win over the Bengals. So let's look at the Ravens. Now the Ravens have to face the Chargers. That's going to be an interesting game. Monday Night Football, Battle of the Harbour Brothers. I think they really need to win that game if they want to have a chance to win the division. After that, they'll have to play the Eagles, the Giants, Steelers again, then the Texans and the Browns. Also, quite a difficult schedule. I'd say they'd have to win at least 3 of the next 6 games. Let's say 4. Let's say they have to win four times. Especially if one of those losses is going to be to the Steelers. However, if they win 4 more, that will leave them with a 11-6 record. So if the Steelers win 3 more, they will have 11-5. I think 11 wins this division. I think you need to have 11 wins, and whichever team wins that matchup between the Steelers and the Ravens, I think is going to win the division. So it's going to come down to that, and that's going to be a hell of a game. I'm very much looking forward to it. It's going to be in Ravens territory this time. Go and play for the division, man. If you go to the Bengals schedule now, Bengals have to play the Steelers twice, but outside of that, they have some very, very winnable games. They have to play the Titans, the Cowboys, the Browns, and the Broncos. They'll have to win 4 of those games without a doubt. They'll put them at 8 wins, and then I'd say at least split with the Steelers to get to 9, and they should be safe for the playoffs. 9 wins and 7 losses should be enough to do it in the AFC. We're going to go and look at the rest of the teams, but right now the wildcard teams are going to be the Chargers, between the Steelers and the Ravens, and maybe the Colts. However, the Dolphins also find themselves in a similar position to the Bengals, so that last wild card spot could be a bit challenging. It's probably going to be between the Bengals and the Dolphins, so let's just see how it plays out. If Tua stays healthy, the Dolphins can go on a run. Bengals already have the offense, they just need to get the help on defense and maybe a little bit of luck. Browns schedule: Browns have to play the Steelers twice, the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Dolphins, and the Ravens. I think they get one more win. One more win and finish on a 3-13 record, and that is just it's shambolic. They'll get a high draft pick. Are they going to cut the losses and go for quarterback like Shader Sanders, do that for the two-way player and Travis Hunter? I don't know where the Browns go, but they're not in a great spot. They went all in, Deshaun Watson fully guaranteed, and it was just a terrible move. Thank goodness my Saints wanted him but didn't go in for it. Alright, so that covers the AFC North. Let's move on to the AFC East. Bills with a very big win over the Chiefs. 9-2 record. Very comfortable in control of their division. They'll probably wrap that up very easily, and then it's just fighting for the number 1 seed with the Chiefs. They do have that important head-to-head game. So if the Chiefs slip up one more time, which is highly possible, the Bills can pinch the 1 seed. Let's see what they have left on their schedule. Bills have to play the Niners, then they have to travel to LA, play the Rams, play in Detroit, then they have to play New England twice and the Jets. Those last 3 games should be all winnable for the Bills, which means after they have played the Niners and the Rams, if they can win one of those games and only drop 1 more loss, I think they'll have a good chance for the number 1 seed. I'll have them finishing on a 13-3 record, and I think it's possible. Once the Bills stay healthy, they'll start to get pieces back, and then they'll also be able to rest people for the end of the season, which is a very huge plus that people don't really like to talk about. Dolphins fighting for that wild card slot. Let's see how they'll do. They have to play the Patriots. They also have to play the Jets, the Packers in Houston. They have to host the Niners, travel to Cleveland, and play the Jets to finish off the season. I know they've had trouble in divisional games in the past. However, if they want to have any chance, they are going to have to win 6 of the last 7 games, finish with 10 wins. 9 is tricky. 9 is tricky. So they're going to have to maybe drop one game to the Niners, but after that, they're going to have to win the rest. Beating the Packers and beating the Texans is no easy task, but that's what they're going to have to do. The New York Jets. Let's have a look at their schedule. Hosting the Seahawks. Then they travel to Miami. They'll play the Dolphins and the Jets before returning home to host the Rams. Before a late game in Buffalo. That's going to be fun. And hosting the Dolphins to finish out the season. Maybe they beat the Jags. Outside of that, I don't see where another win comes for the Jets. I don't see where another win comes for the Jets outside of that Jags game. Finishing with 4 wins. 3rd in the division. Really don't know what's up or down. Like, what direction do they move after that? Already fired the GM and head coach. Who knows what's next? Finally, the Patriots. Patriots travel to Miami and they host the Colts. And they go all the way across to Arizona to play the Cardinals. A late December game in Buffalo. And they host the Chargers and Bills to end out the season. Do they tank? What faith do they have in Drake May? I mean, he had a pretty decent game this weekend. He's not had an awful season, but you know, it's not like a standout rookie QB performance. They always play tough. Maybe they win at home to the Colts. Outside of that, I don't see where another win comes for the Patriots. They'll finish on a 4-12 record. I think same as the Jets, and last in their division. What direction do they go? Is Antonio Pierce the guy? Do they stay with him? Do they try to develop Drake May? Who knows which direction the Patriots go, but it's such a big fall from that dynasty. I guess it had to happen sooner or later. Well, it's a tough experience for Patriots fans, man. Welcome to the club. You know, dynasties don't happen forever and they don't happen often. Let's check out the AFC South real quick. Pretty easy to look at. Texans on top of the division. As you can see, they do have those 2 wins over the Colts, so they basically have the division wrapped up. What games they have left? Hosting the Titans, traveling to the Jags, hosting the Dolphins, traveling to Kansas City, then they host the Ravens, and finally finish out the season in Tennessee. I think they easily get 3 more wins. Maybe 4 if they can top the Dolphins, Chiefs, or Ravens. It's definitely possible. If you go back out, 4 more wins for the Texans will get them to 11 wins. Very comfortable, decent position. Probably a 3 seed or a 2 seed. And they'll host a playoff game. Who knows what can happen? Down the stretch, I think Texans are going to be a sneaky card to make a run in the playoffs. Colts fighting for that wild card spot. An important win over the Jets on Sunday. They'll host the Lions, travel to New England and Denver before hosting the Titans, traveling to New York to play the Giants, and then hosting the Jags. Not too difficult of a schedule. I can see them racking up 3, maybe 4 wins. 4 wins gets them to 9 with a fighting chance of a wild card. I think 10 is a safe number. 9 is very risky for a wild card team, especially with both the Ravens and Bengals fighting. Chargers looking very nice, and the Dolphins easily can make a run for it. So I think you need 10, which is a tough ask to win the rest of their games, but that's what you need to do if you want to make the playoffs. If you look at the Titans, 2-8, 1 less loss than the Jags. Another defeat to the Vikings on Sunday. Where do they go? Like, is Will Levis the guy? Do you start to build around him, or is he just holding the position until they find someone decent? Like, what's the next move for the Titans? Got rid of Derrick Henry, probably eating a big chunk of his salary. They travel to Houston, travel to Washington, host the Jaguars, host the Bengals, and finish off the season by traveling to Indianapolis, traveling to Jacksonville before hosting the Texans to finish off the season. I mean, their hope, if they want to win some games, is that the Texans have it wrapped up and are resting players in the last game. But with 2 wins, do you throw it in? What do you do for the Titans? I mean, maybe they can beat the Jags twice. Other than that, I don't see where the wins are going to come from. That would leave them with a record of 4 wins, 12 losses. Mediocre season, but they won't even finish last in their division because of the Jags, so they won't get that great a draft pick. Like, where do you go if you're Jacksonville? Finally, the Jags, 2 wins, 9 losses, worst team in the NFL in my opinion. Where do they get another win? They'll host the Texans, travel to Tennessee, host the Jets, travel to Las Vegas to play the Raiders before finishing the season off hosting the Titans, and traveling to the Colts to finish the season. I think they get maybe one win. Oh, the Jags, man. What happened to them this season? They'll finish with 3 wins, along in my opinion with the Jets and the Patriots, all fighting for that number 1 seed. If they lose the game to the Jets, lose that head-to-head matchup, I think the Jaguars have the number 1 pick by the end of the season. I mean, I know they have the Panthers, the Giants, the Patriots, and the Jets all fighting for that number 1 pick. Maybe even the Browns, but I think the Jaguars have it by the end of the season. Finally, to finish the AFC, we're going to look at the AFC West. Chiefs in command in this division. Chargers are looking good though. Let's look at the record for the Chiefs. 9 wins, 1 loss to Buffalo last Sunday. Refreshing game against the Panthers. They should be able to get back on track there. Then they'll host the Raiders. We all know what happened Christmas Day last year. They'll host the Chargers. Chargers trying to get 1 win back on the Chiefs, make an interesting end to the division. Then they'll travel to Cleveland, host the Texans, travel to the Steelers, and finish the season in Denver. You can see the Chiefs dropping 1 more game. I don't think it'll be more than 1. Finish with a 14-2 record. Probably that would definitely be enough to take the 1 seed. Maybe if you have 2 losses, 13 wins, it will still be enough. Although Buffalo do have the head-to-head, but I think the Chiefs will have enough to finish. Patrick Mahomes needs to find his feet and start being the Patrick Mahomes that we know and have come to love. I think once they start to get healthy, get back pieces in time for the playoffs, regardless of this regular season, he'll step up and they'll make a run for it in the playoffs. I think they'll finish with 14 wins, get 1 more loss, maybe to the Chargers, so the Chargers get that playoff position and get that home field advantage. If you look at the Chargers schedule, we all know they have that Chiefs game in Kansas City, but before that they'll host the Ravens on Monday night, play in Atlanta, travel to Kansas City before hosting the Bucks, hosting the Broncos, finishing the season traveling to New England, and last game of the season in Las Vegas. The way that they're playing now, they're playing some tremendous American football, and I think they'll only get 1, maybe 2 losses. Let's give them 2 losses. That puts them at 5 losses and 11 wins. Easily enough for a wild card spot. Probably have to play the Texans. And that would be a really good game. Chargers versus the Texans in the playoffs. Who will come out? Chargers playing efficient football. The Texans, when they're on it, they're really good. Good defense, great running game. That would be a really good matchup. I'm excited to see it. Looking at the Broncos now, trying to get one of those wildcard spots. Very, very impressive win over the Falcons. Next game, they're going to be heading to Las Vegas to play the Raiders before hosting the Browns, hosting the Colts, traveling to LA to play the Chargers, traveling to the Bengals, and then finally finishing off the season hosting the Chiefs, hoping by now the Chiefs have the 1 seed locked up and will be resting their starters. How many wins do we think the Broncos get in this final stretch of games? I mean, the Browns and the Colts, the Raiders are all winnable games. Let's give them 3 more. 3 more wins will finish with a 9-7 record. Commendable, but I don't think in this division it will be enough to get that wildcard spot. I guess it depends on what the Ravens and the Bengals do. Maybe it's enough to get that final wildcard spot, but you're asking a lot. Finally looking at the Las Vegas Raiders. Where do they go from here? They'll host the Broncos this Sunday, travel to the Chiefs, then to Florida to play the Bucs. At home versus the Falcons and Jags before traveling to the Saints and hosting the Chargers on the final day of the season. The Chargers are probably going to need that win to secure a wildcard spot. Tough position for the Raiders. Maybe they get 1 more win over the Jags. Maybe a divisional game win over the Broncos, but even so, they'll finish with a 4-12 record to tank, to try and get Shedeur Sanders. I mean, I've seen certain people, no names will be called, suggest tanking, go for Shedeur Sanders, and then hire Coach Prime to coach a team. What a 1-2 punch that would be. You never know, Mark Davis is capable of anything, so who knows what will happen in Vegas. So that covers the AFC. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you think is going to get the number 1 seed in the AFC by the end of the season? Which team is going to come out of the AFC North? And how many teams are going to come out of the AFC North? A lot of interesting talking points before we get to the playoffs. That's going to do it for today's NFL content. Feel free to check out another video in the feed. Otherwise, see you guys later.
We'll be right back.